Okay, so I sit here this last week trying to think, and I had to ask myself, as a Gen Xer, have we reached that point, that position, that age, when it becomes that we no longer understand the youth of today, even though the youth of today are our progeny? We created them. We put them out there. We raised them, and we taught them, at least we should have taught them, what they need to know. Now, it appears that we were a little lacking, and we let schools and people that never should have been in there teaching them. And that becomes part of the problem. And you can say that that is lax of Gen X is all too coddly. No, I think what happened is we were distant parented, as I like to call it. We were just left alone, you know, the old trope, seen, not heard. I've said it 100 times. But we were kind of the same way. We were kind of distant parents ourselves. We were busy. We worked. We grind. We did everything we could. And yet we kind of sidestepped. And we're letting so-called educators, which quite frankly aren't that educated. It's a sad state of the people. A lot of people that come out of high school now are actually technically illiterate. So is that our fault? Yes, it can be our fault. But I want to get back to where I'm saying is, are we at the point now where Gen X is at that age where we no longer understand the youth, that we have become disconnected with what is happening in society and the future that the younger generation see? Or is it still that we understand and we see it and we just don't give a damn because nobody gave a shit about us or our future, so why should we give a shit about somebody else? Which appears to be kind of a 50-50 split here when you look at it. I'm pretty sure there's a good chunk to be like, nobody give a shit about us. To hell with you, make your own way. Work hard, suffer, get some scars and bruises, and build yourself up. And the others are, no, we suffered and we're suffering and we're not going to let the others do it because we know how hard it was, how brutal it was, and the actual true consequences in life. I mean, come on, let's face it. No generation dies more from alcohol and drug abuse than Generation X. That is a hard truth about our generation that people don't talk about when they talk about the differences in the generations. Generation X is the largest group consistently die from either alcohol or drugs. And that was because we were left to our own and had to figure out our own ways to cope. And quite honestly, that's how a lot of people coped. And most of us are still alive. I mean, are we really the smallest generation because there were less of us born? Or are we the smallest generation because so many of us were stupid as kids we didn't make it past 12? Who's to say? I'm sure you dig around out there, someone will find a statistic one way or the other. And no matter how you do it, two people can take the same set of numbers and make it look differently. So have we got to the point? I sometimes think we don't get it anymore. But at the same time, younger generations don't get it either. Okay, we believe in hard work, earning your place, position, and auditioning for your spot in life. I've always said that when I went for jobs and whatever job I was doing, I believe this is how much money I am worth. This is the minimum I'm going to come to you for and I'm willing to start for. But in 2 weeks, when I'm done my audition period, I always called it an audition period, because if you go into a job and say, yeah, I can do that, and if you aren't 100% able to accomplish everything you claim you can accomplish in that first 2 weeks, you should be out the fucking door. You're gone. You lied. Because in most jobs, you can bullshit your way in the door, but the bullshit ends once you have to fucking get down and do the work. And I've never had to go back out that door because I've always accomplished what I said I was going to. I've always got what I wanted in the end because you earn it. And where we get into the problem where I think we have a big disconnect with the younger generations now is they seem to think that when they come into the workforce, that they immediately should be equal to and get the same earnings, position, and authority in a job that somebody's been doing it for 30 years. I don't care what kind of education you think you got. Nothing you learn in a book or sit in university for years and study will ever match 30 years of actual experience doing something. Okay, I used to work for a massive company that owned all sorts of hotels and restaurants and stuff like that. And I worked my way up from dishwasher. Never wanted to be one. I just found myself in a position where I did not have a job that time and you got to pay bills. So I had to go all the way down and go wash dishes and take orders from some kid that was 15 years younger than me. But that's what you do when you're an adult and you got to suck it up and just go and make some money at the time because you got bills to pay. But it didn't take long. I was running a location in a year and I was heading on up and I was ranking even further and I climbed fast. And an issue we ran into is when I was going into the corporate management end, they sent those of us that were hired and those that were promoted from within and those hired from outside to one location where everybody got to meet and mingle and talk. And you had to sit there and go through like a 6-week intensive rundown on the whole company and everything. Now, the one thing I learned I was there is they said in that company is at any given time, if they hire somebody out of universities, the first thing they got to do when they bring them in is they got to teach them to forget everything they just learned because all that theory means nothing in the real world. And that is a fact. And those that had the degrees would get absolutely irate, mad, red in the face because I was way ahead of the curve of them. And I didn't go get the business degree or, whatever BS bachelor's crap they took in order just to say they have a degree. I mean, just because you went off and you took some course in basket weaving or philosophy or woman study or gender study or whatever the hell idiotic snooze course you took just to ride out 4, 5, 6 years in university just so you can say you had a degree because you didn't want to grow up yet, means nothing once you get out there. I mean, how many of the younger generations are working in restaurants or at Starbucks? That seems to be where most of them wind up because it's a pompous ass, stuck up nose type of business. So I think that leads to where now Gen X, we have a huge disconnect with the younger generation because we believed in hard work and earning your spot, where they believe they come straight out of school and are entitled to a spot. But at the same time, Gen X does value hugely further education. And that doesn't mean you just go your university and then you sit there and then you go and you work. But then Gen X will also be like, I want this other position. So they'll go back to school and learn more. All right. I had an aunt, not Gen X clearly, and she wasn't the boomer. She was part of the silent generation. She never stopped going to school. She was a nurse her entire life, straight out of high school, nursing school, and a nurse. So you're talking a nurse starting in the 60s and all the way on through into the 2000s. And when she finally retired, she retired with her master's. She got her master's and went all the way through. And now that is a huge disconnect because the youngers don't seem to think they have to earn and study that way in. That they can just go, ride out a few years, take some nonsense, say, I graduated from such and such university. Now I want the highest paying job. I want the authority. I want to boss people around. And yet they don't want to do the work. Even if they have the education to get in the spot, this is one I find is they find out exactly how hard that job is. Okay. When I was in my position with the one company, all right, with all our businesses, hotels, everything, it ran 24 hours. My entire area I ran included multiple restaurants, several pubs, and multiple hotels. And do you think you can really just shut that off and do 40 hours? No. I mean, even as it was, my contract was for more than 40 hours a week, but there's no way you can shut it down. If you take a position like that and you are in a business where everything is in operation and you've got stuff in operation 24 hours, you just got to be there 24 hours. A crisis comes up and they get a hold of you. You got to deal with it. There's no going, oh, I'm going to take the weekend off or I'm going to go do some self-care time or some downtime. No, you figure out how to do it during all that crap. One of them was me personally. I took up guitar because I take it with me at the time, and no matter where I went, I just sit there. And if I was in another city and in the hotel, I just get in there, put on the headphones, just and go nuts. I slept at the damn thing. I'd sleep there, laying in bed, and I'd be fingering on the neck, practicing, and pass out that way. Because that was the stress relief when you were doing it, and you find other ways because you would have the time where you could relax. And it seems to me that the younger generations just don't quite understand that. Now you get into the the youngest of the Gen Z, and now into the alpha, they seem to kind of understand, but they all gravitate where they all think they're going to be an influencer and an online personality. Like, come on. The odds of that happening is just insane. I mean, yeah, I'm doing this now, but I mean, believe me, I have no fantasies that I'm going to make any money ever doing this, that there'll ever be a dime coming my way. I just had enough. I got something to say, and I quite frankly enjoy it. I want to do it more often. I do. I want to make changes. I'd like to do more. I'd like to be able to figure out a permanent schedule like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You know, not too much. But the people I'm talking to work all the time. We don't have time to sit here and scroll around all the time and watch crap. You get the younger generations do it and then find out they do it and they're great. And then all of a sudden they find out it's work and they burn out. Or when it doesn't, something they say doesn't go as well as something else, and they just lose their shit. Because to them, it's 100% all or nothing. Everybody's got to love me, or I'm going to melt down and I'm going to crash and everyone's going to hate me. And then I'm going to go after somebody and it's going to be somebody else's fault, not mine, because you made a shitty product. Hell, most of my videos some of them got less than 100 views. Some get 200-300 views. I got a few that have gone 2,000, 3,000, a couple over 5,000. That's a rarity, and that it happens. And I mean, that's nice to see. But I know the shit that doesn't get anything else is clearly my fault. I should say something better. Maybe I should sit there and like everybody else instead of sitting there and just go off the top of my head, because I always want to speak from my heart, make a fake script, do all that shit and be like, I don't know, it's a lovely day. Gen X ain't like that. We're not pretend. It seems that that's another disconnect hugely with Gen X today and the younger generations, is they are fine living in a world of complete fantasy. Their online world is complete fantasy, where we live more in the real world. Well, we'll plan it and we like to have fun and we go in and it's an adventure and it's an escape. You get in, you share some laughs, some memories. Maybe you get on and you bitch with other people that want to complain about the same stuff as you. You know, that's nice. Especially now, because it's too expensive to go out all the time and complain with your buddies. Or have everybody come over all the time and complain together. That's what it used to be. That's what weekends were when you were Gen X, especially when you were younger. You'd get together, you'd party, you'd bitch about work for the week. You know, you'd fight, you'd fuck. I was Gen X. But now, nah, that's a disconnect again with the younger generations. That and the fact that they don't seem to think that there should be any consequence when things go wrong. We understood consequence. And we can't seem to grasp the fact that they no longer think there's consequence for them, but there should be consequence for us when things don't go the way they want. That seems to be a huge one these days you see everywhere, which I think leads again to a huge disconnect. So I got a question to ask, Gen X. Let me know. Comment down below and let me know. Do you think at all that if Gen X just shut down from the world, we don't step in now, all the baby boomers are finally stepping out and we're main ones going to be running it, and we're going to have some millennials with us, yes, because there's just so much area to fill. But then again, Gen X is known for working doubly hard and trimming the fat, so maybe we won't need to fill those positions with millennials. However, do you think that we should take over, manage it, and try and direct things so it's easier for the younger generations when it's their turn? Or should we just not step in, let it go, let them kind of jump ahead one, go in there and watch the place burn to ash, because they aren't ready. They think the world operates one way because they like to do it all online and through their TikToks and filters and all that fake BS, and haven't actually been out there and socialized with real people. I mean, we knew how to meet people. We went out. Gen Z are actually paying to go to walking groups or whatever because they don't know how to meet people. Does bowling leagues not exist anymore? Listen up, Gen Z, you want to meet people? Go bowling. Go hang out at pool halls. Join pool tournaments. Even if none of your other friends want to go, you'll meet somebody. Go to a bar that has darts and play darts. Dart people are very chatty. They will talk and you'll meet people that you can chat with, and you can like go out somewhere if you want to meet somebody and socialize. You cannot sit at home behind the screen playing on the TikTok or the Instagram and talking about how great your life is, and then you turn that off, put down your phone, and you're sitting there crying tears into your own pillow because you're lonely and have no friends. I've noticed that with a lot of the younger generations, as they have no real friends. They have TikTok friends, they have Instagram friends, they have people that'll get together with them when they go and do these things, but they don't have any actual real friends. And Gen X knows what real friends are. In fact, a lot of Gen Xers have that one friend, one particular friend that no matter what, if they showed up at your door middle of the night, end of day, called on the phone, it don't matter. You will do what you can to help. You will invite them in. They can walk in, and all it would be is they could show up at your door with their family and be like, I need help. And you'll be like, spare bedrooms over there. There's a couch over there. Towels are in the hall. Here's the key to the front door. I'm going to work in the morning. Make yourself at home. Just about every Gen Xer has one friend that is such a good friend that it's that caliber, right? That you will do that for them because you know that they will do that for you. And that's even if you haven't actually seen them in several years, because we know what real friendships are. And the thing is, most of these people aren't friends we knew when we were very little or young. Some of us do. We have really good friends that you've known since you were like preschool age. I've got friends I've known since preschool that I still know now. And I run into them, or I run into other people, and they try and go talk about this person and say things. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, they're telling me all this shit about this guy. Wonder if I should let them know that I've known this person for over 45 years. Right? No, because there's nothing they can tell me I don't know. Maybe the person was a shithead most of their lives and always getting in trouble. I know that. I know every detail. But I also know who they really are inside. They'll stand up for a friend. And that is a huge disconnect with the younger gens, Gen Z, and the youngest of the millennials, is they seem to just glorify the moment where they can attack and tear somebody down. Because they love that cancel bullshit. You know, they can get online and they can rant and rave and they can make accusations and they can destroy somebody. And that is because there's no consequence when it's bullshit. That is the one bad thing I say about all this technology is Gen X, when that happened, you had people that would do that when you were there. But the problem was everything then had to be word of mouth, rumors, coffee shops, spread it in a restaurant, through the church group or whatever, but it always got back to you right away who it was. And that person had to physically face you face to face, either at school or you'd run into them in the grocery store somewhere. There was no avoiding it unless they left town. So I got to ask, is the disconnect too far? Have we hit that age when we no longer understand the younger generations, and the younger generations just think that because we are now at the age we're at, that everything is our fault? Because it was the same when we were kids. The older generation just thought that they didn't understand us. There was a disconnect. But at the same time, we thought everything wrong was their fault. Some of it was, some of it wasn't. It's just a natural progression of society's growth, technological leaps. That's a lot of it. Like, look at now. Okay. Gen X came in and it was the start of like computers, space programs, and all that stuff. Gen X was like the boomers in one thing. We lived under the constant threat that we were always worried that we were going to get nuked by the Soviets. That was us always talking. And there were several times where incidences came close that nobody ever really knew about, became touch and go. But then when you hear the younger kids talk about it now and saying, oh, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. Well, he didn't live quite under the stress we did. Sometimes I wish I could go back to being like a summertime, 8 years old. because the freedom I had, the fun I did, the forts I built in the bush, going fishing, biking out anywhere I want, hiking out into the trees, running my snare line for my rabbits and coyotes and stuff, and being ignorant to all the problems in the world. Seems to me that was the greatest time to be alive. And it could be again. If we can bridge this gap between us and the younger generations, and before it's too late, still instill some of our values of hard work, loyalty, honesty, integrity, and then I think maybe the rest will correct and take care of itself. Anyway, this is Drac saying bye-bye for now. I'll talk to you later, and peace out.